Hey, what's up? It's Matt from Work Hustle Freedom, and today I am going to answer a question that I get quite a bit from our community. It's how do I test my products on Facebook? I'm going to share with you my testing strategy. It might be simple for what some are used to, but if you're a beginner, it might be a little complicated, but I promise you, I'm going to break it down in very specific terms, not only sharing what I do, but why I do it. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, please stick around. If you want more valuable content about print on demand and making money online, please feel free to hit the subscribe button right now. Give us a like and hit that notification bell because it makes the algorithm very happy, and we like happy algorithms. Stick around.
A matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5.
Hey, thanks for sticking around. Here is the method you've all been waiting for, and I'm going to go over to my computer in just a second and share it with you. The method I like to use is called Dirty 30, and we'll get into it right now. All right, everybody, let's get right into this method. This is my favorite Facebook testing method for print on demand. You can use it for other things as well. I've used it for other things, but for so long now, I've just been doing print on demand, so that's kind of what I'm focused on right now. And it works really well. There's a million and one other ways of testing your products. I want to stick with one testing method. I basically know that the biggest variable you can test in your business is the product. That's the benefit of having print on demand. We don't have to be stuck with one product. We can test as many products as we can think up. And so that's why we keep everything else constant and just focus on the variable of the product. That's key to this. And so it doesn't matter what testing method you use, I would just stick with it. This is my preferred method, so I always use Dirty 30. Reason being, if you start, especially as a beginner, if you start to dabble in different testing methods, you start to get inside your own head and you think, well, maybe I used the wrong method. Maybe if I use this method, this product will work, or that method. Maybe it's like this some kind of Facebook kung fu that I have to do in order to make this product sell. When in actuality, it's probably just the product, and you're probably better off moving on. So that's why I say pick a method and stick with it, and then focus on products. And so it's called the Dirty 30, aka D30. I always name my campaigns D30. I don't want the name Dirty in my Facebook ads just because I don't want to give Facebook any other reason to take a second look at my account, just to keep things clean. And so it actually wasn't named by me, it was named by Kirsta. And Kirsta is a brand, head of a brand over at Shine On. He actually came up with this name. If you don't know who Shine On is, they're a high quality print on demand jewelry company that will basically allow you to design jewelry that then they'll fulfill for you and ship directly to your customers and provide you the tracking number. If you want more information about Shine On, I'll put a link down in the description below. Feel free to check them out. Would not be where I am today without them. Anyway, this is his method. I've kind of tweaked it for my own purposes, just based on my experiences with it over about the last 9 months or so. And so, yeah, this is kind of where I'm at now with it. And as we all know, Facebook can change and change rapidly, but this has been relatively consistent for about a year now. And so what is the Dirty 30? Let me get my pointer. So the Dirty 30, we're going to start out with a campaign, one campaign, CBO, $30 a day, website conversion. So we're going to do web conversion optimization for purchases. Now, there's some people that will tell you start with add to carts and then go to purchases. I'll tell you, if you use add to cart, it's not like the old days. In the old days, you could run add to carts and get really cheap purchases. But Facebook's algorithm is so advanced and so matured now. If you optimize for view content or add to carts, that's exactly what you'll get, but no purchases. So I always say optimize for purchases if you're in the e-commerce world. And along with that is one ad set. We're going to do none of these like niche small audiences here. We're not doing like 25-year-old men who live in Ohio that have a Labradoodle and drive a bus. No, we want big, broad audiences. My typical audience is around 20 million. I want 10 to 20 plus million people in my audiences. And then we're going to have 3 ads. And this is where it gets a little weird. One thing we want to make sure that we do is use the same post ID for each of these ads. If you don't use the same post ID, you're going to create 3 different ads, which means you're not going to be able to stack your engagement. Each ad will have its own set of engagement, and it's basically like using 3 different creatives. The one thing I will say here is, since you're using the same post ID, it should be the exact same ad. And what you're going to do is you're going to actually create 2. That's the point of the Dirty 30. You have 2 $30 CBOs, each with 1 ad set, each with 3 ads, and you're going to have the same targeting in both. So target the same audience. The one thing I will say that's important about the ads, all 6 ads should use the same post ID. And how we accomplish this is just ignore this bottom campaign first. When you create your campaign, create the ad set, create 1 ad. And then you're going to publish it. And then I can actually show you a screenshot, but in about 30 seconds or 15 seconds after you publish it, you should be able to refresh the page and then preview the ad. And at the top, there'll be a little button that says view with comments. If you click on that, it'll bring up the new post that you've created, and it'll have a post ID. You want to make sure that you duplicate this ad, but then instead of creating these 2, you want to insert the post ID. It'll say use existing ad and insert the post ID there. I know it's a bit up here, but I will show you momentarily. But just as like a broad level, keep that in mind. You want to make sure that all these 6 are the exact same post ID, so exact same ad. All right, everybody, I've headed over into one of my old ad accounts I no longer use, but we'll just pretend like I'm running the Dirty 30 on here. So I just did what I kind of mentioned in the training. I said create one CBO campaign, 1 ad, and then 1 ad set. And I actually had some in here, so I'm gonna delete these. Okay, so let's say I had 1, I hit publish. It's probably not gonna say campaign off, it'll probably say in review. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna select that ad that you have in review that you just created, go to preview, share, Facebook post with comments. It's gonna open up a window for your new post that you just created. You're gonna see this long string that says post / this number at the end, that's your post ID. So you wanna go back in here, duplicate this ad twice, and then in this case, it already was using an existing post, an old existing post, but typically it'll look like this, where it's trying to get you to create a new ad. You want to make sure you select use existing post, copy that post ID in here so that you're using the same one. Same thing, at the same time, you often want to just make sure you highlight all 3 and make sure that they're all using the existing post ID. So just do that. And now you know that they're all using the exact same post, and all your social proof will carry forward through all your campaigns. Now, once you got to that point, assuming that you've put the post ID in all 3 of them, you can go back here. You just have to click on your campaign level, duplicate it, and then publish. And you'll have 2 CBO campaigns, $30 a day, 3 ads a piece, all use the same post ID. Hope that helped. Just to recap, we're doing 2 CBO campaigns, 1 ad set in each, 3 ads, same targeting in both ad set, $30 a day budget, and website conversion for the optimization. And then this is where it gets a little different as well. We found that running the original method called for a traffic campaign. So along with the 2 CBOs for website conversion, you'd also run a traffic campaign along with it. It actually increases your performance. Well, what I found is actually running a page post engagement ad actually works well. So that's what I do for mine. So you know how I said that I schedule everything the next day? What I'll do for mine is I'll start a page post engagement to that same post ID as the WC ads. I'll start a $5 a day ABO. So the $5 budget will be at the ad set level. I'll start that right away. So like, let's say it's like 8 o'clock at night, I'm scheduling my ads for tomorrow. I'll start the page post engagement right away. So it gets a little bit of social proof. You start to get some likes, shares. It'll actually increase your performance. We found that over large testing or across many accounts, that adding some engagement, or some people prefer traffic, will actually increase your performance overall. And so that's why we do that. So at the end of the day, you've got your 2 CBOs, $30 a piece, and your $5 a day ABO, which should be a page post engagement ad. And a question I get quite often from students and group members in the mastermind is why 3 ad sets? Well, it's kind of keep in mind that it's more along the lines of a theory, but it's across a lot of data testing that we've kind of like developed this method. And so this is your typical testing structure. If you go out there and do 1 campaign, 1 ad set, 1 ad, your ad's going to go out there and take a sample. So like, let's say day 1, this is the sample that Facebook chooses for your ad of the possible total audience. Well, it might just get a bad draw. Think of it like a hand of blackjack. You know, it doesn't make you a bad player to have a bad hand. Maybe that day you just had a bad hand, and the people that it was searching for, based on Facebook's best guess, just weren't here. Well, if that was your testing structure, you may think that it's a dud product. How we attempt to mitigate that is kind of like when people play blackjack and play more than 1 hand. We have 3 ads. So now we have 3 pockets of buyers potentially that Facebook is looking at grabbing and testing our product to. And by doing that, we're basically trying to minimize the chance of a false negative, so of the product looking like a loser, even though it just got a bad draw from Facebook. So that's kind of the main reason why we do it. Now that being said, you can get a bad draw even with 3 ads, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit here. But in that case, you know, that's kind of why we run it for a day and a half. $45 spend is to help kind of account for the fact that maybe the first hand that Facebook deals you, even across 3 ads, just isn't a great audience just that first day. And so the one rule that I do set up, and I basically use these on Dirty 30 ads specifically, is if the lifetime spend is greater than $45, so it's about a day and a half, and purchases are less than 1, I'm going to turn it off. And that's at the campaign level. So each of them spends it. You want to just turn it off if you don't have a sale after $45. If the purchase occurs, so if you get a sale from it in your store, but it's not recorded by Facebook, make sure you turn off that rule right away. And then that way you're going to have to manually monitor the campaign to try to navigate the rest of the decision points that we have here. But you don't want that rule to turn it off. I had one that kept on turning it off and I couldn't figure out why. Realized I had my rule still on. So make sure you keep that in mind. As you know, Facebook's not attributing things in real time, sometimes not at all, and most often it's delayed. So you'll have sales show up today that actually occurred yesterday. So just a caveat with the current state of affairs of Facebook. Now, decision time. The goal, the ideal successful test, has 3 purchases by $90 spend across both campaigns. If that's the case, we're going to go into scaling. Now, scaling typically means duplicating and creating 2 new Dirty 30 campaigns for the next day. Keep the same PPE ad on. Make sure you use the same post ID. That's what we'll do to start scaling. In a perfect world, we get to 10 successful Dirty 30 campaigns that are running, so 10 active campaigns. More often than not, I've had a little bit more success, especially if you have a strong signal, like a lot of purchases the first couple days. I've actually gone to what I call a D50. So I'll duplicate one of the best performing campaign twice, and instead of having a $30 budget, I'll have $50. Depending on your ad account, that might work better for you. Just something to test depending on how strong these signals are that you're getting on your test. If it's 2 purchases, you're going to let the existing campaign run into day 3 and reassess. Like I said, you might have just gotten a bad draw the first day, and maybe you got 2 purchases the first half the second day. You want to go ahead and let those run. It doesn't really matter if it occurred on one of the campaigns. So like, let's say you have 2 running and the 2 purchases came on one of them and the second got none. We kind of want to take what Facebook says with a grain of salt, and so we kind of view the 2 campaigns as one. So we'll leave them both on, just because we know that Facebook can misattribute sales, even though it says it all occurred on one campaign. In reality, it may have been one or the other. So we kind of want to look at that in a total group before we have a lot of data coming back to us. And if we have one purchase, this is like the bare minimum, we're going to monitor it for a second day. Be very cognizant of what your target cost per purchase is as you go ahead, but we'll let that go. And as I said, don't be afraid that if at the end of $45 spend, so $90 spent in your test, I guess $95 if you include the traffic / engagement ad, if you have to shut it off. More often than not, these tests, especially when you're starting out, are going to be kill it, move on. Best thing you can do. I would actually say that 3 purchases isn't necessarily a successful test. Getting no sales is also successful because now you know that product is not one that you're going to be able to scale, and you want to go on to finding one that will, because it's finding a successful product in print on demand is kind of like falling in love. People always ask, how will I know? Well, when you find it, you will know, just like love. It's going to just, especially if you get what I call a whale. If you get a whale of a product, it doesn't matter how many times you duplicate it, it's going to be getting purchases that are profitable, and you can just keep on scaling and scaling and scaling. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions about the Dirty 30 or anything print on demand, please feel free to leave your comment below. Again, if you haven't subscribed, we'd love to have you. It does help the algorithm if you like this video, and we'll have more videos for you next week. Thank you.
It's just a matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5. I'm rocking, they watching, cause it's shocking. Dropping all these